Estonian hydrogen cluster. Yes, and as the first topic of the day, we would like to record this webinar. So this means that if you do not wish to be visible with your video, then please act accordingly. And today we will focus about full value chain developments. I would kindly ask people to mute their microphones. That's the second order. Or Maris, could you please?
I think there is some noise in the background. Yes, maybe everybody else other than Sven can mute.
So Maris, maybe you can also, as the host, you can mute some of the people who are not presenting at this stage. So today we will start off the first half of the day by describing the Estonian context. So we will talk about latest development, let's say in the last half of year or up to a year, and then this will be followed up by the presentation by Daro Gergenberg from Solarstone and their company installing solar roofs, and they see quite a potential in hydrogen as the storage option for solar energy. Next up, we will have Priit Kotkas from Nordland, and he will talk about large-scale energy transport in Europe mainly, but also in a more philosophical context. Then we will have 4 presentations from outside of Estonia. We will have Pia Salokoski from Click, and she will briefly give us an overview of what's happening in Finland and in our great neighbor in north. And this will be followed up by Heidi Haaniemi from Helen. She will talk about sector integration in Helsinki area, and also Osa Hedman from Flexens will talk about how hydrogen could be used in a marine transport context in Finland. And last but not least, we have with us Darius Milčius from Lithuanian Energy Institute, and he will tell us about what's happening in Lithuania when we're talking about green hydrogen use. And to go forward, let me just share with you my slides. This should not take more than a second. So I hope you can all see it. And as mentioned, we will start with a, let's say, general overview of the Estonian context, and to share with you some of the latest developments that we have seen and worked with. Thank you, Mary. We worked with in the last up to a year or so. And when we're looking at the green hydrogen developments and the Estonian and also the European context, then one of the main drivers, of course, that we have to keep in mind is the Green Deal, which decided that Europe cannot go forward using fossil energy the way we used to, and we have to move towards renewable energy and figure out how to more and more integrate the renewable energy into our daily activities and our energy portfolio. This, when we're talking about renewable energy, then mainly this means wind farms and also solar parks. And this means that there will be production and price volatility. And this is where the green hydrogen comes to play as the accumulator of energy and as the enabler of the balancing factor when we're talking about large-scale wind farms or large-scale solar electricity production. And thirdly, the driver that has been with us for over a half a year now, this is the energy security and independence of Europe. In the sense that we have understood that being reliant on other regions, other big countries to support us with energy is not sustainable in the long-term view. And Europe should drive towards energy independence and be able to provide produce as much energy as possible, so to say, in-house. And when we look at the vision paper produced by Guidehouse, this was in May, I think, then they have proposed to share or to divide Europe in a way to 6 regions. And what we can see from this picture, there are 2 time frames or 2 moments in time that have been shared here. One of them is 2030, the other one is 2040, and we see that it has been proposed that 5 regions in Europe will start producing a lot more energy that they can use, and there is 1 region in the center that probably will use a lot more energy that they can produce. And of course, the situation with one of the areas, which also includes Ukraine, is a bit unclear now. It is rather clear that how the energy transport should be organized in Europe based on this information. And when we more specifically look at the region that is here up in the right corner, then and to think about how we can participate in the European energy independence and what we can do to make sure that there's enough energy for us and also in Europe in a wider sense, then one key aspect here are the large-scale offshore wind farms. And here is the table from a recent document developed based on the maritime spatial planning in the Baltic Sea region. And we see the areas here as the identified potential capacity, which the countries in these regions can use to install wind farms. And we can take a look at Estonia's example, where the identified potential is at least 7 gigawatts of wind farms, and this should produce at least 24 terawatt hours of energy from those wind farms. So discussions with the wind farm developers have proposed that perhaps this number, the potential net energy production, is even bigger than the 24. So up to 30, or perhaps even more in some of the cases. It depends technically on the power of the wind farms, or power of the units that are installed in the sea. And if we consider that the yearly electricity consumption in Estonia is 8.5 terawatt hours, then which may of course rise a little bit in the upcoming years if more and more electricity will be used, let's say, instead of gas. But still, there will be a rather big surplus of energy that we can produce from those wind farms. And a similar situation perhaps is true for Latvia, maybe also for Lithuania. So in fact, we are, as Baltic states, we are willing to, or it seems that we're willing to support the energy transport from this region towards Germany. And more specifically, if we look at the Estonian case, then we see that for this 7 gigawatt area, we have already a number of potential companies who want to develop these wind farms. This list used to be a lot bigger. So this is taken from Estonian Wind Energy Association webpage. There used to be over 21 gigawatt of development projects. This is now narrowed down to I think more specific projects, but still it's close to 10 gigawatts of development projects for area of 7 gigawatts or so. So in this sense, Estonia is actually interested in developing these wind farm projects. Now, the second question is, how do we transport this type of energy towards Europe if we cannot use it on our own? And the fact is that there is so much energy to be produced that it will not fit to Estonia. And when we're talking about energy transport by cable as electricity, then we have to look at the connections that are currently present and that can be installed in the near future. And it seems that it does not seem very likely that the energy that we can produce in this region can be transported to Europe in the form of electricity. In addition, there is now a lot of discussions how much more expensive would it be to transport this large-scale energy in the form of electricity through cables. And different calculations, different webinars propose that it's about 10 to 20 times more expensive to set up electricity transport infrastructure. And based on this, it seems to be quite clear that the large-scale energy transport from those 5 areas towards Central Europe should be in the form of green hydrogen. And Guidehouse, based on the European Hydrogen Backbone project, which contains almost 30, approximately 30 gas DSOs across Europe, and from Estonia, Elering is the partner there. They have proposed that already in 2030, there could be several hydrogen pipelines that help to transport large-scale energy from those 5 areas towards Central Europe, Germany, to support the energy independence and energy security of Europe. Now, this was the big picture on the large scale. So if we know that this type of large-scale energy production will happen in Estonia, and hydrogen is the most cost-efficient way how to store this energy and also use it later on, then what we can do in Estonia is start to figure out how the hydrogen can be used in our local context. And this means development of full value chains, where on one hand we have green energy production, we have electrolyzer, we have hydrogen storage. Hydrogen can be transformed to different e-fuels, for example, sustainable aviation fuels or other types, ammonia, ethanol. Then there's storage and transportation, how to get hydrogen from one point to another, and then there's end use. In Estonian context, and also if we look at Europe and other places, for example, in Asia as well, then one of the most common ways how to use or how to start using hydrogen in a local context are buses. And we know that in Estonia, there's quite a bit of interest towards hydrogen buses in some of the places as well. And these kind of land full value chains, which contain green energy production and hydrogen buses at the other end, seem to be the first use cases in Estonian context. But of course, maritime solutions are also interesting, and using hydrogen in aviation solutions has been discussed as well. And based on this, over the time we have proposed that to start the green hydrogen economy in Estonia, we should work with, let's say, at least 4 green hydrogen full value chains at the time. Perhaps if there's more interest, then also with other ones, but we see that Tallinn, Tartu, Narva, and Pärnu, and the islands that go with this have been a bit more interested in setting up green hydrogen value chains in general, especially in Tartu, I would say, where there has been a lot of interest towards getting hydrogen buses on the streets as soon as possible. And to understand that better, the cluster invited relevant stakeholders around the table, and we discussed what kind of value chains could we set up using the interest from those local companies. And at that time, we divided the stakeholders into 6 groups. There is production, there is transport and transport and storage. There are end users. There is transformation. There is development of different hydrogen technologies. And of course, we cannot forget where do we get the great brains from. So So teaching of relevant competencies that are needed for setting up and maintaining a green hydrogen economy. And we have done that also in other regions, for example, in Tallinn, as well as also in Saaremaa briefly. And we see that there's a lot of interest from the companies, and a lot of companies realize that green hydrogen production and use and participation in the full value chains is very relevant for their business. And now we arrive to the discussion of how we're going to do this, because we are talking about a major change in how we produce and use energy in Estonia, but also on the European level. And these kind of big changes come with large barriers. And for this, currently, more and more European funding is going into these projects, and also Estonia has decided to support these projects with at least 2 investments. So the one 4.8 million was tendered end of last year, and this was won by Utilitas, and they will use this funding to set up full green hydrogen production and use value chain using their production facilities. And as far as we know, the use case here will be taxis, which will be put on the streets in Tallinn, so green hydrogen taxis. And second measure, which should be opened end of this year, although it's already end of October, should give out 50 million to set up a full value chain, either in transport sector or in industry. So this support funding will hopefully be available for Estonian full value chain developers quite soon. And now, if we have these kind of local value chains, and we're thinking about how to soon, let's say those local value chains will be developed in the 3 to 5 years perspective, and the large scale offshore wind farms will be developed in the, let's say, 6 to 10 years perspective. Then how to integrate what we're doing here in Estonia to European value chains, which is one of the crucial steps as well. And I already mentioned European hydrogen backbone, which will probably be the main, at one point, one of the main, at least, if not the main, energy transport solution for Europe. But we're also talking about decarbonizing TEN-T. Now we know that in the TEN-T and in the associated roads, hydrogen gas station or hydrogen fueling stations will be required after 100 kilometers. So this means that a set of gas stations have to be brought to Estonia as well to participate there. There are maritime solutions which will be decarbonized in Europe, and how to participate in that, and also in aviation, and perhaps other topics as well. And over the year, we have played around how this kind of picture would develop in Estonia, and what could be who could be the early adopters, and who could come along as the years go. So what we know is that number of regions have shown a lot of interest towards setting up hydrogen full value chains already as soon as possible. So we're talking about Tartu and Tallinn and Narva region, and Paldiski and Keila have shown interest as well, in Pärnu and Kuressaare. Maybe the first users will not be in transportation, but maybe stabilizing the hospital work through hydrogen generators. But of course, in general, the main focus will be on transport, and perhaps hydrogen buses and hydrogen taxis will be the first solutions. And over the time, we have seen quite quite a bit of developments, both on the European and Estonian level, when we're talking about the familiarity with hydrogen technologies, in the sense that when initially we draw this picture, we proposed that this picture could be relevant, let's say, in the year of 2035, but in a half year, it could be that we have noticed that many hydrogen projects could come to the grid, come alive much sooner, and perhaps already only a little bit after the year 2030. And of course, at one point, we will have a hydrogen pipeline that covers Estonia. So this is currently drawn based on the current natural gas pipelines, but the hydrogen pipeline may take a different route entirely, depending what makes sense from the investment perspective, and also what makes sense from the production perspective. So when we're talking about the full value chain developments, yes, this was what we see in the transport sector, but we also know that full value chains will be developed perhaps sooner than later in the built environment, and hopefully we'll learn more about this from Tarvo in the next presentation. And the third area where full value chains can be developed is, of course, the large-scale energy transport. So I've already talked about large-scale offshore wind farms. The recent energy audit proposed that we also need to develop onshore wind farms quite rapidly to be able to produce the energy that we need locally, the electricity that we need locally, and this could come from onshore wind farms. We cannot forget the developments with solar. So I think this summer, the solar gave already 400 megawatts of power to the grid. And there are also co-production facilities where electricity and heat are jointly produced. So we have a range of options to produce green electricity, and also to turn this into green hydrogen in the near future. And when we're talking about local value chain developments, and also looking at how those can be integrated into European value chains, and we see that Estonia and also the Baltic region and also the whole Baltic Sea area could become one of the areas which provide Europe with energy and participates in the energy security network, then developing a hydrogen valley based on this makes a lot of sense. So hydrogen valley is a flagship status given by clean hydrogen joint undertaking, and in some of the cases it may come with specific funding to develop this hydrogen valley and bring those value chains together and companies together to a larger project, to a larger development. Altogether, there are over 30 valleys currently given out by the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, and they are evaluating those proposals as they come. And based on this logic, over the last year, we have jointly with Finnish hydrogen cluster powered by Click Innovation developed and worked on a joint hydrogen valley between Estonia and Finland. You can see a list of companies currently involved in this development. This consortium. So in addition, we have brought on partners from Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia, and jointly this consortium applied for the large-scale hydrogen valley funding that comes from Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. And this hydrogen valley proposal, of course, was just one example how to invite investments in this region. So we will continue collaboration in this in this consortium, we will look for additional funding sources. So, of course, the additional funding sources may come in the form of smaller projects, but we're looking actively to support the different aspects of this valley view, or of this region view more specifically. And in this let's say consortium, we're currently focusing on maritime transport and road transport. So for maritime solutions, the regions from Norway, Sweden, Denmark are very interested. Also, there's interest from Latvia, Germany, Poland, Lithuania. We know that Estonian and Finnish companies are also interested in understanding what kind of role hydrogen would have in the maritime solutions. Road transport is, of course, also, as mentioned, one of the first sectors which will be decarbonized using green hydrogen. We also brought on industry solutions from Finland, the energy solutions using the built environment as one of the examples, and then focus on the joint market development between Finland and Estonia. And these kind of large consortiums give a great opportunity for sector integration. So there will be hopefully many solutions that can be developed based on this. And using the same range of companies, but also adding Scotland, which I apologize is currently not shown in this picture. We are under the guidance of CLIC, building towards another European alliance that would work, or that would support green hydrogen solutions, but also green energy solutions in the wider sense. And the aim of this alliance is, of course, find support in the form of funding to this initiative. So strengthen the development of cross-border value chains, which become more and more relevant when we're talking about supporting and stabilizing the energy economy, energy environment in the Europe. We're talking about knowledge sharing and social awareness, to raise social awareness, which is not often the highest when we're talking about green hydrogen solutions and overall the energy providing energy security for the region. So this was introduction to today's webinar from me. We will talk about a little bit more about the Estonian context, and then come back to Finnish and Lithuanian examples. Sorry that I'm a little bit over time, but if there are any questions or comments at this stage, I think we still have time for one or two. So please just raise your hand or write this in the chat. Of course, if there are no questions now, then we can also go forward, and the questions can be written to chat, and I will reply them as they come. So I will stop sharing and invite our second presenter, Tarvo. Are you here with us?
I am.
Excellent. Have you already been given the right to share the screen? Excellent, Tarvo. We see your slides. Please, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. My name is Tarvo, representing SolarStone, which is a solar company that is focused on different kind of applications that solar applications and the world is used to, like, let's say, mostly utility parks and on-roof solar. The presentation will be maybe rather shorter, so I will make up everything that Sven went over. SolarStone designs, develops, and produces different kind of solar solutions that are meant actually to be building integrated solar, or building material, literally act as a building skin. And for the past 7 years, we've been developing and producing really like solar products. But today we are in the phase where we use our own products actually to propose them as products and services for commercial customers. And then we enable making solar as the primary source of energy, literally like 9 months in a year. Even here in Estonia, households can run purely on solar without purchasing anything from the grid. We've been in business for 7 years, like have so far built a bit more than 750 residential roofs, and then have one patented technology which makes building integrated solar in the world a bit unique. 3 products what we have in portfolio. Firstly, like on-roof solution, which is sort of unique because it's like not really like on-roof, but it's really close to the existing metal seam roof. But it's some product that then is enabled like in let's say UNESCO and heritage buildings or roofs as the only solar, because it leaves like almost like natural look of the roof. Then we have solar tiles, which are solar modules that are compatible with roof tiles, leaving as well replacing the, let's say, the roof tiles, leaving the look of a roof as a natural roof, while actually the roof is out of solar. And the third product, it looks similar, except that the modules are not in the size of roof tiles, but the modules are large. And we come from the idea that actually, in this case, we don't produce the solar modules, but we have developed certain framing set that will be assembled around an existing solar panel. Doesn't really matter which brand solar panel it is, which size the solar panel is. But this framing set enables us to turn a regular solar panel into building integrated roofing material. It has great economics, probably like the best in the world in terms of building integrated solar. And actually it enables us, thanks to that, to propose different kind of solar-based solutions and business models on the market. And what I mean by that is that instead of installing solar on the land is limited, but we have like a lot of existing infrastructure, which means like parking lots. So we actually could turn the parking lots multidimensional, means install solar carports and generate a lot of energy on site already. Secondly, we have taken the structured home model, hasn't seen any innovation for the past 20 years, and replaced the traditional PVC or sandwich building skin with solar building skin, and turning this way the structure hall into large, let's say, large energy generating building. And then the last third is like, let's say, energy communities, where actually like the business models where pay and purchase can be replaced with services while using solar. But speaking about solar and hydrogen, I think this is like the very actual picture from recent times. What means energy security? You can like produce energy somewhere far from where it's being used, but if something hits, then you don't literally have energy because it's not produced on site, it's being produced on off-site. And then this is like our idea that actually energy should be generated where it will be consumed. Let's say most of the energy we can produce locally with solar. But the principle is that let's say here in the Nordics, we produce energy from solar when we are not much consuming, and we are consuming when we're not producing. So like one way would be to implement batteries, but the easier and cheaper way would be actually sell to the grid. Now, many countries, including Estonia, grid is exhausted. So we cannot sell to the grid. Means we actually have to invest into storing the energy. Otherwise, like the numbers won't come together, because we will just have to drop most of the energy that we have been produced. And implementing batteries, however, is like short-term solution. So because we can literally like store the energy like for maybe 24 or 48 hours. However, when we think again on the Nordics, then we would need much more energy in the winter time. So how actually question how we can use the energy generated in the summer, all the excessive energy, there's a lot of it, and turn into a value for the winter. And then this is like something we've been working also on with Sven on, let's say, the hydrogen cluster, and the model we're actually interested to discover further is actually using all the excessive energy produced on site to be turned into hydrogen that could be used for, let's say, either heating the communities or charging hydrogen cars in periods when there is lack or no solar energy, means like from mid-November till end of February. And if this is something we can actually make happen, this will literally change how the energy economy works, because from this moment on, when we have the ability to execute such projects, then we don't need to build the grid. We can run communities like 365 days a year independently. This means there is energy security, there is price stability, and the really expensive and long-term projects which require grid development, which never gonna catch up actually to demand anymore. Like, we don't need it, because we can solve everything on site. It's of course like totally different aspect. I don't know like the numbers yet behind compared to all the large utility scale wind, solar, and hydrogen combination projects. But again, as I started, then we have like different approach than the general market has. And the idea we actually are working on is to really use excessive solar energy on site for full year energy security and usage. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Tarmo. That was a really great overview of your plans and how you see the role of hydrogen going forward. Do you have any questions to Tarmo or any comments? You can either write in the chat or please raise your hand to ask the question directly. Yes, Marie, please.
Yeah, thank you, Tarmo, for a very interesting presentation. I had a basic question in my mind when I was seeing the presentation. How will you deal with the seasonal changes and the long winters in the Northern European regions, and how will it affect the production of solar energy?
I think I lost like the first part of the question. Can I ask you like to repeat once more?
How will you take care of the seasonal changes, especially long winters in the Northern European region?
It depends how north do we go, but as mentioned, 9 months in a year, there is enough sunshine in the Nordics to actually cover the whole demand of households for the, let's say, cover the demand of energy. But the more we produce actually during these 9 months, the more there will be excessive energy. So the idea again is to use all the excessive energy to store it for the let's say 4 winter months. Like how it will work out, what is the cost? Today I don't have the numbers. We're speaking like rather like 3, 4, 5, 6 year cycle, but like we should believe that this is like doable, this is possible, and the costs will come down from the numbers which there are like indicated on the market at the moment. So I don't see that there will be issues like the hydrogen economy will eventually let's say run towards these models.
Thank you, Tarvo.
Do you have any other questions or comments to Tarvo? It seems not. So Tarvo, thank you again for joining and for showing what. Yes, Kaira, please. Last second.
Yes, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating. Sorry, I have my own echo here. It's a very fascinating project. I was wondering if you've ever heard of Cosmolocalist project run by Professor Vasilis Kostakis. It goes very well with the idea of communities and yeah, it's a sorry, I have a bit difficulties. I have my own echo. But I can share with you the website of Cosmolocalist. I think you should definitely have a look at it.
Yeah, sounds good. I haven't heard, so that would be helpful. What I want to maybe add as well, that the energy community movement where communities actually build solar parks is already like raising heads. So like just implementing hydrogen as the off-season for the off-season periods, it's just the next step. There is a huge market for it for energy communities. It just like takes a bit time.
Thank you, Kaira. Yes, if you could send this link in the chat, for example, that would be very helpful.
Yes.
Or you can send it directly to me, and I can share it with the participants if the chat is not an option at this stage. But if you can put it in the chat, it's easy.
Okay, and if you have any questions, I'm part of this research community. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions to Tarvo? If not, then thank you, Tarvo, and we would move on to Priit. Priit will tell us a little bit more about large-scale energy transport in the Europe, hopefully. Priit, are you with us?
Yep. I hope you see the files.
Yes.
Excellent. And I pretty much start where you ended up with the same picture. And as we worked during this process, Sven gave us overview. We saw that the main challenge or main possibility for hydrogen in our corner of the world will be a possibility to transfer energy from our region to the regions where it is really needed. And I show the same picture about those 5 main corridors and what is today
Apologies. We still see your first slide. If you intended to show the second one, then it hasn't changed, at least not for me.
Actually, I do see the second one.
So what's the situation with others? Do you also see the second one? Is it just me who sees the first?
I see the first one also.
Okay, so
This is the first one, and this.
well, we don't see the change.
We see your slides on the side, but the slide that I see is the first one. Title
And it's
slide.
not full screen. I don't know if there's a
You are screen sharing. Okay, I redo it then. I stop sharing and I do it once again. So it's better now.
Yes, now it's the second slide.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and how did we see it from our side is that in Estonia, also the intention to connect into our today's existing grid, renewable energy plants, wind and solar, the number exceeds today's possibility not only a couple of times, but we are talking in case of Estonia from 7 to 10 to 12 gigawatt connecting power compared with this 1 gigawatt, what is our existing everyday consumption. So it is not an option today to connect the renewable plants to existing grid, and that's why the option of transfer of the energy via pipelines will be definitely the best possibility. And as we know, the price difference between electric grid and hydrogen transfer, when it comes to building the connection, it means electric lines or pipelines differ from 10 to 20 times by today's estimates. So also the question of land usage to build new pipelines in that extent what is needed to connect is pretty much impossible in short scale, because vast land areas will go on the lines at the same time. When we're talking about one pipeline, what is maybe 1 meter 10 centimeters, 1 meter 20 centimeters. So the difference is huge. I hope you see the second slide.
Yes, we see the change.
And we know that the same problem starts already from Finland, who is planning, according to today's wind parks plans, at least 5 times more energy production by the 2030. The same plans are in Estonia. The same plans are pretty much in Latvia, Lithuania. So we do have also our good partner Germany, who has enjoyed Russian gas up to the year 2022. Today we are in the process of finding alternatives, and this is also a huge possibility to our region to provide this kind of alternative possibility. We do have under planning and in some stages under construction also an infrastructure corridor for railway, Rail Baltic. We have understood that there is a possibility to use also this Rail Baltic corridor for accommodating hydrogen pipelines. There were talks previously also using sea pipeline after exploding Nord Stream. This is probably an option for a pretty long period. We have to have our energy connections. We have to have our other connection what comes to inter-European connections in such a mode that we can protect them, and there is a minimum possibility of sabotage. So that's why this land corridor will be definitely the first alternative for this kind of infrastructure. Important is also that having the pipeline on the ground and going through the regions where are lots of interest towards wind parks and solar parks, construction of those, the pipeline will provide also new possibilities for connection. It will be an alternative connection possibility for the producers. And when we are looking at Estonian picture, what I definitely hope you will see now on the screen. From Tallinn to Pärnu is planned the Rail Baltic corridor. We do have a possibilities to link there all the wind farms what are in the western part of Estonia. On one hand, also solar parks what will be built there and will have today very limited or almost non-existing possibilities to link to the existing grid. And with the yellow, you see those wind park possible areas on the sea area, what will enjoy it, and also the possibility to have an alternative connection to the existing grid. And what is good in case of this kind of new energy transfer system is that we can send what we produce. We will definitely avoid negative prices in that case. And once we don't have wind and solar, we do have a big hope that the pipeline works on also vice versa, so brings us energy with decent price. So this is quick overview about our findings during last couple of years when we went through those local possibilities and we tried to figure out what is the best usage of hydrogen in our region, where we don't have any industry using hydrogen, and we believe that using it as a alternative network connection and transfer of energy will be a big chance for our region. So thank you.
Thank you, Brit. That was very insightful. Do we have any quick questions or comments to Brit at this stage? You can either write in the chat or please raise your hand if you want to ask directly. As there seems to be none and we're already a little bit behind our schedule, then I would move on at this stage. You can also ask Brit in the chat and we can take it from there. So thank you, Brit.
Welcome.
And now we're moving on from Estonian examples, and we have two great examples from Finland and also Darius from Lithuania. But before that, we have Pia Salokoski from the CLIC team to give us a short introduction to the Finnish context and how they see in general the developments of green hydrogen economy there. So Pia, are you with us?
Yes, thank you, Sven. And a good morning to everybody. So I'm Pia Salokoski. I came from the CLIC Innovation, and we have been preparing together with Sven the joint Hydrogen Valley proposal. I'm now trying to share my screen. Can you see it?
Not yet, Pia, but we see that you have started screen sharing. Yes, now we can see your slides, but not in the presentation mode.
Okay, how can I make it as a presentation mode?
The slide, like, you know, the one where you click on the slide on the bottom to put it on the presentation mode. If you go to the bottom bottom right, if you click on the
there are not those.
Next to that one, if you move your arrow a little bit to the left,
There is just more and apps. I can't see anything else.
Okay.
So you should take a look at the PowerPoint. If you're looking at the Zoom screen, then there is just the more and apps perhaps, but if you're looking at the PowerPoint window from where you're sharing, and you can make it full screen from there.
Are you able to see, Pia?
No, I can't find the app where I can make
But
it.
I think we can also see it this way. So if it's
Can
not
you
Yeah,
see
we can.
it now?
Yes, we
Okay,
can see
that's
anyway.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because CLIC is also coordinating the hydrogen cluster Finland operations, I will use the hydrogen cluster slides and tell you something about the Finnish hydrogen cluster. So it was established last year with 36 companies and industry associations from Finland. And now we have already over 60 member companies and 6 industry associations. And at the bottom, you can see the target of the hydrogen cluster Finland. So the companies want to deliver solutions for building a carbon neutral society globally. And here we have kind of collected the strengths, the Finnish strengths in hydrogen economy. And this was one thing we did also when we prepared the Hydrogen Valley project, and then together with Estonia and all the other Baltic Sea countries. And there are a lot of similarities in that area. But of course, the robust and clean electricity system is one of the main strengths in the area. Huge potential for wind power and also solar, like Tarvo was presenting. Solar is also very important and very interesting because the hydrogen gives the possibility to use even more solar during the summertime, because we are able then to storage it as hydrogen and utilize it during the dark winter time. At least in Finland, it has already begun because it's really dark today. And clean water resources are very important, and also the kind of strong and smart electricity network, which is it's possible to rapidly also scale it up and increase it. And energy policy, of course, flexibility of the whole energy system and the possibilities to increase the renewable energy production. High-tech stable society with unique competence bases for ecosystems, public-private collaboration, like we have also noticed in this project preparation. So the research organizations and companies can actively collaborate. And of course, low risk for investments, that is very important. And what we also raised up in the Hydrogen Valley preparation was this extensive sector coupling opportunities for the hydrogen and how to integrate hydrogen production to industry, energy sector, and also transport sector. Of course, transport is very important part, and in Finland we maybe mostly look for the maritime transport, but also industry utilization is very important to get the industry carbon neutral, and as well as high value products. From hydrogen, you can make all kind of power-to-X products like chemicals, even food. But the potential for the wind power, it's really big in Nordic and Baltic countries, and also in Finland. So here are updated figures from that slide you, Sven, showed. So in 2030, there's already potential for 18 gigawatts in Finland. And most of that is still onshore wind, But of course, the offshore wind and increase of the offshore possibilities will even increase these figures. And then those grid connections, there is of course already electricity and gas grid between Finland and Estonia, and there are a lot of different possibilities with these 5 corridors from the European backbone report, which have been now shown in many of the presentations. But when we made the calculations in the Hydrogen Valley project preparation, we noticed that the Baltic Sea countries can have a huge role in the whole European hydrogen economy and hydrogen market. So it's very important that we collaborate and work to this jointly, because it's really a huge amount of renewable energy and also hydrogen production, which is available in the Baltic Sea countries. And of course, collaboration, how to transport the hydrogen from country to another and how to utilize the hydrogen resources, then it's very important. Here you can see that the most of the wind power potential in Finland nowadays is in the west coast and also south, and also the offshore possibilities are at the same area, maybe even more in the south part. But the Finnish hydrogen projects, so the investment projects which are now ongoing, they are mostly in the south part of Finland. But in the future, I see that there will be also growing amounts of hydrogen projects in west coast and in north. But nowadays, most are in the south of Finland. But this was shortly about the potential for hydrogen in Finland and in the Baltic Sea countries, and you can read more about the Finnish hydrogen cluster from our webpage. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the great overview, and this was very, very good in reflecting the topics we already discussed also in when considering the Estonian context. So there are many overlapping topics. Do you have any questions to Pia? Any comments? You can either write in the chat or raise your hand to ask directly. But as there are none, you can still do this as we go forward with the other presentations. So thank you, Pia, so much.
Yes. Thank you.
And next up, we have Heidi Ahniemi from Helen. So she will tell us more in more details about the Finnish context, and now more specifically about the sector integration demo between electricity, heat, and hydrogen. And we can already see your screen.
I saw in the chat that you put Shift F5. Now we can see already the presentation mode. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you. So
there is one, this live caption and subtitles, like a box, text box.
Oh yeah, it's like a pop-up that we see, live actions and subtitles.
Okay.
And it's
Click
also
on got it, yeah.
It's also your
Did you see the presentation or the wrong screen?
Yes.
Now it's better.
We don't
Yeah,
see
we
the
can
full
see
screen.
the
We see the presentation mode. We don't see the full screen, but the presentation mode.
So do you see the next slide
fine.
as well?
It's yeah, we see the next time. It's fine. We still see enough of the slides, but just to let you know that we also see the other side.
Okay.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. It's big enough, I think.
Okay. Well.
So thank you, Heidi. Yes, the floor is yours.
Yes. Then. Yeah. So sorry about the hassle. My name is Heidi Ahniemi. I'm a business development manager at Helen. In the hydrogen team, and our team is now working on our first concrete hydrogen investment project, and this in this project we will demonstrate sector integration between electricity, heat, and hydrogen, and this demonstration is part of the Baltic Sea Hydrogen Valley project, if that realizes, and of course we hope it does. And I think that this sector integration could be also replicated in Estonia, as you have district heating as well. So first, a couple of words about Helen. Maybe many of you don't know it, but we are a large Finnish energy company, mainly focused on district heating, district cooling, electricity production and sales, as well as distribution. Currently, we still have energy production based on fossil fuels, but we aim to be carbon neutral by 2030. And that is a huge effort to transform the company completely, because we have over 100 years of urban energy, which was mainly based on the fossil fuels. But now we are in a large transformation process. Maybe more about our services and how we have organized our business. So as I said, we have these more known and traditional services, distribution, electricity production and sales, heating and cooling in district heating and cooling networks in the Helsinki area. But in addition, we have been growing in the service business, meaning that we provide solutions for local energy production, meaning solar PV, for example, smart buildings, including energy efficiency and ground source heat pumps. Then electric transport, so we're expanding our EV charging infrastructure. And then on the right-hand side, we have this new solutions division, which I'm in. So this this kind of platform aims to create new businesses for the future, including flexibility and hydrogen. So what could be Helen's role in the hydrogen ecosystem? Well, we see that our natural role would be mainly on the upstream side of the hydrogen value chain, if you will. So sourcing the clean electricity from renewable production sites, but also maybe nuclear and hydropower. And then we aim to produce hydrogen and sell it further to our customers. But in the meanwhile, we aim to maximize the flexibility of the hydrogen production and utilization of the byproducts. So, of course, waste heat, excess heat is something that is very natural that we can use, but also maybe in the future, also the oxygen that is released in the electrolysis, and we could maybe use that in capturing the CO2 from our bio-based heat production. So far, we don't see that we will be active in the end-use sector, but we'll see how it goes. But now we're focused on the upstream side. So here's the vision picture of our first project. The acronym for this project is 3H2, Helsinki Hydrogen Hub. And it's located in Vuosaari, Helsinki, where we have our district heating production assets as well. There's a harbor close to our project site, and therefore it's very interesting location. And this first small project is our first step towards the vision of an urban cleantech hub. So we have a vision in which we are a large hydrogen producer, very close to the Helsinki city center, in which we maximize the energy efficiency of the process, meaning that we really take all the excess heat that is available and utilize that in the district heating network. We aim to maximize the flexibility. So consider the intermittency of the electricity production, also flexibilities to produce district heat or not to produce it, and also provide flexibility for the end user. And the last point is scalability. We want to make a concept that can be replicated in Helsinki area, but elsewhere as well. And this is the first step to kind of understand the technology, what are the limitations and opportunities, and based on the learnings, we can scale up our hydrogen business in the future. And to look a little bit deeper into this hydrogen production complex, looking at the components, we have a PEM electrolyzer, which is flexible technology. It can provide demand response to the electricity system. Then we have hydrogen storage. Now we aim at low and medium pressure storage. So we will have a compressor to increase the pressure. We will also have a fuel cell so that we have the opportunity to produce electricity if the price of the electricity is high enough that it makes sense to produce electricity rather than deliver it to our main customer, which is a hydrogen refueling station for heavy transport. And of course, that is our priority number one. So we will guarantee that the refueling station would always have hydrogen. And then if there's excess hydrogen, we can then play with the electricity market price and fuel cell and the electrolyzer to provide the flexibility. And as I said, the excess heat will be collected from all these components and refined into district heat through a heat pump. So that we need to increase the temperature of the excess heat a little bit so that it's similar to the heat in the district heating network. And all these components will be optimized by Helen in a Helen Flex algorithm, and that's something that we will build together with these concrete components. So we are in the process of developing the optimization algorithm. And here is kind of a high level picture of the optimization algorithm, how this algorithm will materialize the sector integration between the hydrogen production, electricity market, district heat network, and transport, the refueling station. So we have a range of inputs that we will feed into the algorithm. The inputs include the hydrogen storage level, hydrogen demand forecast, electricity price forecast, wind and solar forecast. I actually forgot to mention that we will have solar power on the site, and then we will source wind power through the grid. We will have a flexibility market forecast, so reserve prices, heat demand forecast, Then heat production cost of alternative methods, for example, bio-based heat production, technical constraints of the components, and there might be other inputs like hydrogen market price. The hydrogen market is not something that is there already, but in this hydrogen Valley project, we would develop a demonstration market for hydrogen market, so we could play with the price as well. So all these different inputs go into our algorithm, and the algorithm produces for production forecasts from day ahead planning to real time. So as the forecasts become more accurate, then the kind of the outputs will be updated, and outputs will be electrolyzer running plan, fuel cell running plan, available flexibility for the reserve markets, and the heat production plan. And based on the learnings that we get from this demonstration, we are confident enough to scale up our hydrogen business so we could go into bigger projects with maybe less risk, as we know the technology and know how to operate it. Thank you. This was it. Would you have any questions?
Thank you, Heidi. Very impressive to see how you are thinking about the role of the hydrogen in just not that far away from us. So it was very impressive to see. Do you have any questions to Heidi at this stage? Or any comments? As been already said, you can write it in the chat as well if you don't want to ask it live. So thank you, Heidi. We're moving on. So next up we have Åsa Hedman from Flexens. Åsa, yes, you're here with us.
Here I am. Yes, thank you. Now let's see if I manage to share without any complications.
So one of the audience said if you press Shift F5, it will go to full presentation mode. Shift plus F5.
Yes. Do you see now?
Yes, we have it. Thank you.
Yes,
Great.
and it's in presentation mode.
Yes, great. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Åsa Hedman, and I come from the company called Flexens. I will soon tell a little bit more about us. I focus now my presentation only on what we have planned in this specific Baltic CH2 proposal, and not all our other activities. But first, a few words about Flexens. So we're a project developer, and we are focusing on these market segments that you can see: energy islands, offshore, ports, industrial green hydrogen, and mobility e-fuel supply. And everyone understands that that doesn't sound at all like focusing, since that's a bit like all over. And in fact, we are now more and more focusing on the hydrogen business and also on the e-fuel supply. And that's, however, tightly connected to the ports, since we are a lot looking at the maritime sector as off-taker. I'm not going to go more into detail about our company, except that I want to explain a bit how we work. So as said, we're a project developer, and we do the early project development phase. So from the very beginning, as identifying the case and the land and the off-taker, etc., until the final investment decision point, where we sell the project onwards. And we work in a way that we establish a project company called SPV with relevant stakeholders, and then we work closely with often local project developer, especially if we are abroad. And then off-takers, consulting and maintenance companies, banks, of course, and other funding parties, and the consultants and engineering companies that do the more technical planning. So that's that. I'm not going to explain more. I think actually our company should be quite familiar to most of you. So in this specific proposal now, we chose to focus quite narrowly, since in an R&D project you can't put in too much because otherwise you won't get anything done. So here we decided to focus on hydrogen supply and storage to passenger ferries. And we decided to look at those operating from Helsinki. So that's basically our focus. So the actual, let's say bunkering of the hydrogen, and that will be connected to some sort of storage solutions as well. And our plan is seen here on this slide. So first, in the beginning, we'll do a more like general study about what could be the most feasible routes for a hydrogen ferry. So note we're talking directly on hydrogen, not the e-fuels now in this case. So that sets the boundaries that most of you probably are aware of, that we can't go that far. And looking at the map, it's quite evident that we would be looking towards Tallinn and possibly Muuga as well. There we have a distance that is suitable for hydrogen fueled ferries. We will do a lot of stakeholder involvement with both shipping companies, the ports, and any other relevant stakeholders in the beginning of the project. We have already quite a lot of contacts and activities with ports, and we have also done an energy analysis of one of the bigger ports in Finland. So we have increased our know-how also in that aspect. Then after the first, let's say, feasibility stage, then we would move on to the more technical planning phase, what the solutions would actually look like, what they would cost, how the business model would look like, etc., etc., and start preparing the, let's say, the project plan so that it's investment ready. And then we would be collecting offers for the actual equipment, for the engineering work, do the safety planning, permitting processes, and also this would most probably need some kind of subsidies. So the subsidy application is also a quite, let's say, a task that requires quite a lot of time. And our idea here was that we could then partly get that time allocation put into this project, but we're not planning to get the actual investment subsidy from this project because the funding is not enough for that. But the, let's say, aim is still that this project would actually be realized within the time frame of this Baltic Sea H2 project, however, with then separate funding. Yes. Then I just briefly mention that we also have other interests in these specific projects. And sorry for the bad slide with way too much text. But briefly, we are also looking into offshore wind quite a lot, and in this specific case, to offshore hydrogen production in connection to the offshore wind power plants. And this is, of course, also something that is more like studies and analysis, etc., not actual investments yet in this stage. And that's also a time frame question, because most probably the first offshore wind parks will not be standing there before this specific project is ended already. And we would be mainly looking at the Åland area where large offshore wind parks are being planned. I'm thinking, was there something else I was supposed to highlight here? Well, maybe I could highlight also to do this, let's say, scenario analysis, whether the offshore wind production should be through power lines or through onshore hydrogen pipelines connected. There are, as we heard in the beginning, we already know quite a lot, but it could also be a case-by-case analysis there. And I realized now I really rushed through because I understood that we were a bit behind schedule. So I thank you. And here are my contacts. So you can ask for more information.
Many thanks for this great overview of the potential, what you see, and more specifically what was already sort of refined in the framework of putting together this joint proposal, or this for this large consortium. So, do you have any questions to Osa, or any comments at this stage? You can either write it in the chat or please raise your hand if there is anything.
I think Tonu Karu is physically raising his hand there.
Oh, I don't see the videos.
Okay.
Don't know.
Yeah, I also see that Tonu probably has a question.
You are muted.
You're muted. No, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you for their beautiful presentation from Åland, from Mariehamn. Yeah.
I'm in Helsinki actually. Actually, I'm in Vuosaari, quite close to the port. That was.
Yes, I know where it is. I have been having the privilege to represent the city of Tallinn in the European Union for 10 years and cooperate in the framework of the Union of the Baltic cities. And I am a bit guilty for some of the hydrogen activities in Estonia. What I just, first of all, thank you for your beautiful presentation. Point two, and may I make a bit dirty joke, take it as a joke, but for all the speakers and all the audience, when you come to your screen, please draw the curtains, because as a physicist and in the field of optics, I cannot see your beautiful faces because the hard white behind you. Yeah, now much better. Okay. You just made a good point about cooperation requests across the Finnish Gulf. Just to the harbors, you mentioned Muuga and Tallinn, you skipped Paldiski, but I just have to mention that it is all together, all in one, it is Tallinn Harbor. Tallinn Harbor is competing with my home city, Keila, in one important topic. Which of them was the first to make the hydrogen strategy? Was it the city Keila or was it Tallinn Harbor? There might be a difference of 2-3 hours. Okay. Not joke, but hours. What I mean is, I think that you, having your beautiful schematics, to get across the Botnian Bay, or what is it called in English? Eesti keeles Botnia laht. I think that you have done a lot, but what I suggest, maybe it's a separate discussion between Tartu, where Sven is, and some other partners of this UBC network. Please try to scan the already existing networks of cities and municipalities to make your work easier, to extend the scope, and therefore just economize the most important and valuable what we have, our time. Time is running short, and therefore I think that beautiful cooperation between Estonia and Finland and the whole area, having 3 beautiful young ladies as in charge of 3 countries, I think that there is a very good potential. Thank you, Sven, to you and the Estonian Cluster 4 initiative. And let us see a bit wider. You don't see the golden coins which are there next to Vuosaari. Thank you. That was my comment.
Thank you, Tonu. Do you have any other comments or questions to also at this point? If there are none, then happy to move on with Darius. Darius, are still with us? Sorry, we're a little bit behind with the time, but it's great pleasure to have you, Darius, from Lithuania, and he will tell us about what's happening in Lithuania when we're talking about green hydrogen.
Oh, sorry. I shared my screen.
We can see yes, your desktop now.
Yeah. So maybe like this.
Yes, nice.
It's Shift plus F5.
Excellent.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, hello to everyone, and thank you organizers for giving me possibility to present what we are doing on hydrogen here in Lithuania, and also for the possibility to join your consortium in the call on large-scale hydrogen valleys. So I will represent the members of Lithuania Hydrogen Association, which are part of the consortium, and we'll start from Lithuania Energy Institute, actually, where I'm from. So Institute started in 1956 as Institute of Energy and Power Engineering. It was renamed in 1992 as Lithuania Energy Institute, and we continue with this name today. So we perform research in the energy field for state, industry, and public. Actually, we're developing and testing different materials for energy applications, different prototypes and, let's say, equipment. And we're also working on conceptual and methodological basis for energy sector planning, and also delivering some competent experts for energy-related research. So Institute in brief, we have 230 employees, 130 scientists, 37 PhD students, and quite nice equipment in 10 laboratories. Our research is split in 5 directions. It's on research on energy technologies such as nuclear fusion, renewable energy sources such as wind and biomass, and hydrogen. I will present our hydrogen activities in details in a few slides later. We also have laboratory on thermal engineering and metrology, which involved in thermal physics research and metrology. There is some group working on hydrology in environmental engineering. Material science, few groups which are testing and developing different materials. As testing, we have surface and bulk analysis equipment which could be used for a variety of applications. A part of technological science, we also have few groups related on social science, on energy system and economy. So we are doing lots of energy modeling for the government and for the national grids. We quite active in projects. So actually we participated and still continue in 26 hydrogen Horizon 2020 projects. Few of them we are coordinating, and we also prepared and submitted 22 proposals in Hydrogen Europe project, calls, and 5 projects are ongoing at our site. One of them are led by us. So going to the research in Lithuania on hydrogen, I would say that we mainly concentrate on fundamental research. I mean, it's going in the laboratory scale, and it's going from TIL2 up to prototypes development at TIL4. There are a few projects which are related to applications, and I will present them. And also we have some activities on demo sites, which is mainly on small-scale hydrogen valleys preparation. The activities on hydrogen is concentrated in 5 institutions in Lithuania. So this is Vilnius University, Lithuania Energy Institute, Gediminas Technical University, Kaunas University of Technology, and Vytautas Magnus University. So in details, activities in Vilnius University. So we are working on fundamental research on transport of lithium and sodium ions, oxygen vacancies, and protons in solid-state electrolytes. So actually, we are developing solid oxide fuel cells. It's some micro fuel cells, and we are trying to understand the charge effects in these materials. So this is our oldest group in Lithuania, actually about 40 years of experience, and lots of national and international projects behind them. Gediminas Technical University, we have very interesting project which is related to the applications, and this is related to mixing of compressed natural gas with hydrogen. So we are mixing at different levels, starting from few percents up to 70% of hydrogen in compressed natural gas. So we are doing modeling activities and also lots of experiments in the lab, and we also work with the industry people, and they make the fuel mixtures which they develop are used in buses in Lithuania. Actually, 3 cities using them today. Kaunas University of Technology, another group which works on development of materials for solid oxide fuel cells and proto-conductive fuel cells. And this is rather fundamental work. We are trying to develop the membranes for both of fuel cells. And here you can see examples of different membranes developed by various groups. Vytautas Magnus University, which is located in Kaunas, they are more on social science, and we are trying to understand the role of renewable energy prosumers in implementing energy justice theory. And we are also trying to understand the role of different technologies. I'm talking about batteries, hydrogen, in the implementation of renewables in the market. So there is also a small group on energy security on regional and national level. This is mainly mathematicians, and we are doing analysis of energy security level, applying different indicators and trying to understand how the changing technologies influence the energy security. Lithuania Energy Institute, it's actually my lab. So let's start from hydrogen production. So here at Lithuania Energy Institute, instead of electrolysis, we are working on hydrolysis. And as hydrolysis, we are trying to understand, is it possible to use aluminum waste in order to produce hydrogen and later on electricity, and also some useful heat, which could be used in other applications. So if you use 1 kilogram of aluminum waste and 2 kilograms of water, we can produce up to 2.2 kilowatt hours of electricity and 6.5 kilowatt hours of heat. And also additionally to that, we can produce up to 3 kilograms of aluminum hydroxide, which could be converted to other useful materials. The main challenge with this technology is related to the physical fact that when you extract a pure aluminum into the atmospheric air, it will be already covered by a thin aluminum oxide layer, which prevents aluminum reactions with the water. So we developed a few technologies. One of them is patented worldwide, which allows us to change the aluminum oxide layer properties by using green chemistry approach. And actually this altered layer allows aluminum particles to react with the water, and we can easily produce hydrogen, which with the help of fuel cells will produce electricity, and also we can produce aluminum hydroxide and gamma aluminum oxide at the end of the day. Another research which we are doing, it's related to solid-state hydrogen storage materials. We work a lot with Stockholm University, and this is examples of magnesium-based materials which could be used for hydrogen storage, smart window devices, and biofuel applications. This is a rather important slide which shows that we can produce materials in powders, flakes, and thin films. So actually all 3 forms are available at our lab. So Developed materials, I'm talking about magnesium to nickel MH4 powders, which could be used for hydrolysis processes. So if we immerse them into water, the reaction starts and we can produce hydrogen even for at very stable rate, even for a few hours. Metal hydrides for synthetic fuels. This is very interesting work, which we started about 3 years ago. So if you work with biofuels, you know that they have lots of CO2 and little bit CH4, and would be very useful to increase CH4 and to decrease CO2. So how to do this? So we are trying to develop different catalysts for Sabatier reactions, where CO2 reacts with the green hydrogen and we can produce CH4. And here you can see the examples when we use magnesium to nickel nanoclusters together with aluminum oxide, and this allows us to convert part of CO2 to a valuable CH4, and using this technology to increase the value of biogas. So this is our latest development. Actually, you prepared and submitted very nice proposal on large-scale hydrogen valleys, and we prepared a small-scale hydrogen valley. So this is approaching very brief. So we have green electricity, which is solar and actually wind. And we are going to install up to 6 megawatt in power electrolyzer at our biggest ammonium fertilizers factory, Achema. And it will, and if we will be successful, it will be produced up to 800 tons of hydrogen per year, which will be used in green ammonium production, and also in blending of hydrogen into our natural gas grid. So we expect that it will give us possibility to test different technologies. When we talk about green ammonium production, the amount of green hydrogen which will be produced is very small. In terms of Achema, it will be around 1%. However, when we talk about blending of hydrogen into the natural gas grid, so it will be up to 5% for the Kaunas region. So will be very interesting experiments. So here you can see our consortium, which consists of Lithuania companies, our friends from Denmark, Spain, France, and France. So thank you for your attention. So this is our laboratory and people behind the equipment.
Thank you, Darius. Very insightful. Great to see those R&D projects that you have in house. So there's a lot going on. Do we have any questions or comments to Darius? If not, then I will ask one myself. So do you already have a timeline? If there is no hydrogen publicly available gas station available in Lithuania, so do you have a timeline? Where do you think that one could be available in Lithuania? What I'm asking is that Latvia has had one for some time now. We don't have one in Estonia that's really usable in this sense. So what is the situation in Lithuania? So do we have a race here?
Yeah, so our Ministry of Energy developed first value chain, which is related to the transportation. Actually, we devoted 20 millions for that reason. And 4 fueling stations will be placed in Lithuania, in Kaunas, Vilnius, Klaipėda, and Panevėžys, such are plans. And the calls will emerge next month. And we expect that the installations will be finished at maybe in 1.5 year time. So this is the plans. But, you know, first of all, we need the calls, and after that, we need the winners, and after that, we need the real life installations. So this is very tricky because, for example, 2 years ago, there was different government, and we proposed some big proposal on hydrogen demonstration site here in Kaunas. And our plans was to install electrolyzer and also fueling station, and with both pressures, 350 bars and 700 bars. Unfortunately, with the government change, our project was stopped and new government came. So 2 years passed, nothing happening. So new call for proposals and nobody knows that we will have at the end of the day.
Right, yeah. So this sounds familiar to some extent. Okay, any other questions, comments to Darius? If not, then just to wrap up this seminar, I would come back briefly to a couple of slides I already shared also during my presentation. So the point of today's webinar was to tell you a little bit about what is happening in Estonia when we're talking about the full value chain developments. And we had 2 demo cases to show you. One of them was hydrogen in the built environment. The other one was large-scale hydrogen transport. The third sector that we've been working with, including, for example, Tallinn City Transport, a representative from Tallinn City Transport could not join us today, so they are working on how to integrate hydrogen buses to their bus fleet, and this is also another very interesting value chain development. And as a cluster, talking with other stakeholders across Europe, we see that there are many regions that have similar topics, similar issues. So bringing them together as a consortium with the support from CLIC, of course, who is heading this consortium, to apply for large-scale Hydrogen Valley funding from EU makes a lot of sense. But this is just one snapshot at the time. So of course we hope that this consortium will be funded, but we're not only waiting for this, but we'll continue to develop this region further. And CLIC has, from Finnish side, has initiated Northern European Alliance, which would focus on both green energy topics and also green hydrogen topics, and to find additional funding to those projects, which we already encountered during the large-scale valley proposal, but also going forward and working out more and more the cross-border topics, the cross-border value chains, knowledge sharing, social awareness, and overall to provide more to the energy security of the region. It's been a great pleasure to have you all, both speakers and those who joined to listen. And if you have any questions and any comments, you can reach me at my email here, or you can call me, and we can take it from there. So thank you all, and have a great week ahead.